See, this is the enter key. This is the right shift. They would scrape and hit the inside of the case frame. Hey there. Okay, I'm gonna say this right out the gate. This is the Keychron Q1, and I wish it was a keyboard that I could recommend. If I had to scale it, 7 out of 10, no. 3 out of 10, yes, I guess. At this point, the Q1 had already been reviewed by several creators, and if you've been following the keyboard community, then you already know what's up with it. It's a great value keyboard. It competes with the GMMK Pro, good for entry level, sounds very hollow and pingy without mods, and I guess those would be the main highlights. But here's my take on it, and my initial plans with this content that I guess at this point kind of went downhill. I really wanted this board to be good because I wanted to build another silent keyboard that matched what I did here, the most silent keyboard on YouTube. That got a bunch of people wanting it, but they can't get it because with custom keyboards, they aren't something they can just buy off the shelf at your local retail store or on Amazon or any online vendor, just easily anytime you want. And when they found out how much the Mode 80 costs simply because they just want a real actual silent keyboard that you can't get in any pre-builds, they get sad. And even if you can afford it, it's not always readily available and restocked around the clock year round. The Keychron Q1 is my first 75% keyboard that I've owned, and I wanted it to be good, especially with all the hype. So why can't I recommend this keyboard? Let's talk about it. Let's start off with some basic facts. It came up mid-2021-ish and started shipping to customers in September. Now, you can get the bare bones of just the case for about $149 US and about $169 for the fully assembled, which basically means plus $20 for any of the 3 switches available, the Gateron Phantom Red, Blue, or Brown. The case color also comes in carbon black, navy blue, and space gray. It's a fully anodized aluminum body that comes with its own PCB and aluminum plate. There are some pre-installed foam layers in the board as well, and they give you a coiled USB-C cable. When I unboxed it, I noticed the cable doesn't have TechFlex on it. So with the Velcro strap attached, it actually sticks to the fabric of the cable, causing it to fray right out of the box, which is unfortunate because the cable does actually feel like good quality, except lacks the sleeving that would help protect it. And you also get a small bag of extra spare parts in case you need to replace anything. A very unique feature about the board is you get to customize your own badge to go with it, and it's very high quality printing here too. Let's take my channel logo for example. I have 2 versions here, one with a shadow and one without. You may or may not be able to tell on camera here, but I ended up submitting the logo with a shadow for my badge, and the printing quality is so good that in person you can see the shadow in my logo here, so that's quite amazing. Now let's talk about the case some more. Anodized surface finish is really smooth, and you can tell, like visually, it's good. The weight also feels very premium. It's a heavy board, it's got some good weight to it, but not as heavy as something like the 7V. For this being my first 75% board, the bottom row is something I have to get used to. I don't know if 1U keys are my thing here. I know for a fact that 1.25 would be much preferred. Now onto the sound. So at this point, it's a pretty well-known fact that the Q1 is a very hollow sounding board, and I didn't know how hollow it was until I got it in my own hands. It's so much so where even if you run your fingers along the surface of the case, just the friction of your skin to the surface can be heard throughout the hollowness of the case. That's insane. Fortunately, there are mods you can do to mitigate that. I believe Alex Sotos did a pretty good job with the Q1 mod, so definitely check out his channel for some keyboard tips. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to make a video on a keyboard build that wasn't just silent, but also affordable and available to the general public. During my experience and use with the Q1, I thought I was on a roll. Everything was good, plugging in my silent alpacas, and thought I could show you guys how to get a silent keyboard without putting much modding work into it. But my idea of recommending an affordable and available silent keyboard was quickly and all of a sudden shot down because I realized the keyboard had really poor tolerances in terms of the frame's cutouts. So some of the keycaps closer to the edge or the corners of the inside of the frame, see, this is the enter key, this is the right shift. They would scrape and hit the inside of the case frame. In my unit, the GMK keycaps here, the F9 would be evident, and then when I had my cat profile keycaps on, mainly the left control key would hit the case. So I figured if I shifted the aluminum plate over just a tad bit, I could provide a bit more clearance. However, clearing one side of the keyboard would result in keycaps on the other side to scrape the case, like the right shift and enter keys. This was the biggest issue I had with the Q1. I mainly built this keyboard with regular alpacas and silent alpacas, both lubed and filmed, just to give a comparison in terms of the silence I'm aiming for. Also, thanks to Stupid Fish for sending me some spacebar foam to try out in this build. Quick note, these spacebar foams are only compatible with PCB mounted stabilizers, not plate mounted ones, in case you're interested in picking some up. Using these are supposed to dampen the sound of the spacebar, and I think it especially helps if you're intentionally going for a more muted sound. Let's jump into the sound test. So that was using the pre-installed stock stabilizers that were also factory lubed. There was a great deal of rattling still, and I took them out and tried to see if I could clean and re-lube them myself. However, I found that the factory lube used had hardened inside the stem inserts where the wires go, and there's no cleaning that out. I tried. So I just tossed them away and replaced them with my own C3 stabilizers that were lubed with Krytox 205 Grade 0 and Super Lube synthetic grease. I also band-aid modded the PCB to help dampen even more unwanted noise. Here's what they sound like. Okay, so clearly the C3 stabs were much better. However, this keyboard is still dead to me since the tolerance is so tight, which conflicts with the keycaps when pressed. All the keys had no issues except for a few along the corners and edges. Overall, as I mentioned, it's difficult for me to recommend the Q1 to anyone, unless you don't mind keycaps hitting the inside of your frame or occasionally getting caught or stuck because of those tight tolerances on the cutout of the frame. But if Keychron were to remake the Q1 into a V2 or an R2 or something, definitely I would recommend increasing the clearance on the cutouts so that it can not have these issues with interfering with the keycaps when pressed. Now, the hollowness and the pinginess of the sound without mods like in stock form, that's not an issue. People have complained about how pingy or hollow it is. That's totally fine because you can fix that. You can fix that with mods, but tight tolerances with keycaps, you can't fix that. At least I don't know of any methods. So now that I've experienced using the Q1, I'm just looking to replace it with another 75%. Now I am a TKL guy anyways, so a 75% isn't something I'd be actively using, but I think it would be fun to just plug and play occasionally. So that's it for this video, okay? Let me know what you think about the Keychron Q1, if you have used one yourself, if you own one, what mods you have done, and also If there are any fixes that I haven't thought of yet, please let me know. I would love to hear from you. Okay, thumbs and subs if you want to see more keyboard content from me, and I appreciate you watching. As always, I'll see you next time.